so not as religious and single life, but it is established by the church. Love, desire, and death are the pillars of Maslow's creative fidelity. The church. On the human level, they do not exist solely in themselves, but find their point of preference and being outside themselves in God. Gabriel Maslow's approach to God is non-objective, experiential, and relational, which deals primarily with human persons' different experiences like love, commitment, fidelity, and hope that are essential oriented the sacral dimension of life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nam, for your presentation. I would like to invite Professor Paula for his comments.
All right, Mr. Nam. Um, let's go to the technicalities, no? First, in your manuscript, there are some things that should not be included yet, such as the proposal, or I mean the approval sheet, the acknowledgement. These are to be included after the defense.
Yes.
I have to commend your abstract because it included the what, how, and what, why, and how of your thesis. Although there are so many things that are questionable pa rin. Number one, inconsistent footnotes. There are so many inconsistencies in your footnotes. You do not, number two, in your RRL, you included again works of Gabriel Marcel, which I think we have repeatedly said that primary work should not be included in your RRL. Research gap is not very clear in your thesis as it was, or in your RRL, because it has become also a list of the things that you have used. For a late work, no, for a late work, this thesis lacks the engagement to secondary sources, especially your chapter 3. Okay? It lacks engagement with secondary sources that you have been talking and talking and talking about Gabriel Marcel said, but it has no engagement with articles, other books. Very little, if there are. Very little. When in fact, Gabriel Marcel, I think, is one of the most research on. And dami, there are so many available sources, including in creative fidelity. Okay? But again, I will have to drive to the point, no? The discussion on creative fidelity is very lacking. It's lacking because you were not able to pinpoint the definition of creative fidelity as it should be. Okay? There are so many discussions, but it wasn't even clear what creative fidelity is. In your research methodology, you included the division of your thesis. So I think if you're going to follow the old format, then you have to make sure that you how do you call this? Label properly. Okay. I have this is a general comment for your whole thesis. Your thoughts are very disorganized. It's disorganized in a sense that I cannot see the connection. I cannot see the interrelationship of your discussion. It's just as if you were discussing lang, just for the sake to have how many pages of a thesis. Okay, so that's a very, what do you call this? Very wrong way of writing a thesis. And again, a common for throughout your thesis, it's most of the time they are presuppositions. Actually, I didn't want to finish reading your thesis already because from the get-go of your thesis, in your abstract pa lang, I have a feeling na of what you want to say. It is very forced. You're talking about fidelity in marriage. And we all know that in marriage, there should be fidelity. So one of the questions that I will have to ask to you later is, why use creative fidelity of Gabriel Marcel? So meron ng, how do you call this? deep on how you will answer that. All right, let's go to the questions. I think this question is for in technical terms then. Why do you only have two sub-questions?
Because in the main problem, we raise how the Gabriel's master notes on creativity in systematic life will be answered in chapter 4, and the what is systematic life and what is Gabriel's master notes on creativity will answer in chapter 2 and chapter 3.
Isn't it we have requested that you give us three sub-questions?
But
Because one sub-question will answer, one chapter will answer one sub-question, right? If you would like to say that, siguro there's a proper way of saying this, because your main problem could be your sub-question number 3,
yes,
okay? And you can say that the thesis statement or the statement of this thesis or the thesis argument, then say something about this question. Rephrase it in a sentence form lang, in a declarative form, so that it
Yes.
will appear as if you have a main argument. And then these sub-questions will precisely support your main argument.
yes.
Okay? But kasi this looks like you're not following instructions. Because I think from your research methodology or your thesis writing one, you are required to have 3 sub-questions.
Yes, but as the others brothers in my the same the advisor, that we just view the main problem, and after that we have two sub questions. So I just put the two sub questions that
So all of the advices of Sir Blaze has only 2 sub-questions.
I don't know about on, but actually with that I asked him and he said that two sub questions.
All right, sige, if that's the case, but still, in the proper way of writing this, you should have 3 sub-questions because that's what the school has been asking from us.
Yes.
Okay, so you have to follow that. Um, in your chapter two, I cannot really understand what's the problem. You're talking about Christian marriage life, right?
Yes.
Christian marriage life. Married, ano? Christian married life or marriage life?
Marriage.
Yeah, you're saying Christian marriage. You're saying that this is your problem. Supposedly, this is your problem. What is problematic about this? What
Well-
is the problem that you want to answer? Because in your discussion, you have presented none.
For me, as Gabriel also mentioned that language is the philosophical problem of the inner relationships. So I just view language as a problem here, but I didn't use in the way that something happened yet. But if I just put some definition and something in the right way, if people cannot follow these definition or the way to live, they easily become a problem of the Christian married life.
So, if you say that, kasi you're discussing Gabriel Marcel's thoughts on family. First of all, this is problematic because this discussion should be included in your chapter 3. Right? Because you're talking about Gabriel Marcel na eh. And then, bigla you jump on conjugal love. Conjugal love. And where did you get your discussion on conjugal love? Thoughts on conjugal love. Faculty.ucr.edu. I'm not even sure what's the field or what's the parang core of this discussion. So why do you have to put that? And also, in this part, in letter C, the problem
Yes.
of language in Christian marriage life. Let me talk first, You've discussed here language of sensation, language of incarnation, and language of love.
Yes.
How did you come up with those 3 languages?
For me, I focus on the problem of language in first in sensation. when we live together, we must to put our feeling or our mind to others that we can see the presence of others. So, and in the language of incarnation, we must be unity or intersubjectivity with others, with God also. So I put here for the important to live in the married life, and the last language of love. So we know that love is somehow showing our actions and gives intimacy to others. If we cannot use this language to communicate with others as girls, we cannot have the fidelity in the life of marriage.
What I mean is, where did you get this? Are this something that has been talked about by other scholars, or did you come up with this on your own?
This one I get from the idea of Gabriel Marcel in his book. So first in the creative fidelity and mystery of being. So being with others, somehow I come up with this one because when we live with others, we have to see the presence of others. So I just put some main uh, concept here: the language, love, incarnation, and
So you're
sensation.
saying that this language of sensation, language of incarnation, language of love, these are Gabriel Marcel?
I mean that I push his ideas. So when I talk about the married life, I can use something to to apply for the married life. That's so important for the married life because the language is the connection from self, others, and for myself. Um, Either is the most important in relationship. So if we cannot use our language to communicate with God, so we cannot understand God, and also we cannot understand others. So I use the language to put here as the main problem in the married life because now people cannot use language in the right way. We just think that living together we just show our accents or something, but it's really language is not speaking, but language is think about before action. In my in consciousness, think a lot of things in the concern of the gifts. So it's so important, and I put the idea of language in this program.
All right. Kasi in your presentation, in your writing the thesis, I have this idea. You're discussing, yeah, you're quoting Gabriel Marcel, and then you have this Ivy Panda, and then Gabriel Marcel again, Gerber. All right, sige. But I do not get the relationship or the interconnectedness of this. I cannot understand why is it a problem. You're saying that the problem is that there's some lack of communication in some married life. It's not, it doesn't give any justice to that. It just confused me. It just confused me reading this language of sensation, language of incarnation, language of love. And also again, I have to point this out to you. Diba, it was very clear from the beginning that your chapter 2 should be your philosophical problem, and your chapter 3 should be the philosopher that answers to that problem. And why are you discussing Marcel here? Without, without really presenting to us your problem. That's what makes me confused, and that's what makes me kind of mad because number one, you're not following instructions, and number two, you're just spewing and spewing and spewing contents that do not make sense. Okay? It's frustrating to read this kind of work, right?
And for me, with papers, I also use the symbol words or some ideas just read inside, and I want to bring to the people who cannot have chance to study philosophy. So even the Christian or somehow the people can read in English, they can research so that I make the somehow symbol and I apologize for lacking of the connection somehow.
You
Uh,
have a good intention, Mr.
yes,
Nam, no, that you want to show this, to make it appear to be, what do we call this, readable to non-philosophy majors.
yes,
But a non-philosophy major will not appreciate this precisely because you are spewing philosophical concepts without really, what do you call this, grounding them in reality. Okay?
yes,
So I hope you get my point. In your chapter 2, there is no clear problem,
yes,
and you have to work on that.
yes,
You have repeatedly said in your chapter 2, I think this is still in your chapter 2, the mystery of the family is compared to the mystery of the soul and the body. What do you mean by this?
because for the mystery we cannot understand whole, but for the body and soul we cannot separate them because man should have body and soul. So when we in enter in the life of the human in the relationship, body and soul cannot separate from others. So it is somehow. We maintain this relationship, and in marriage we also have the presence of others. We cannot really understand others, but we should know that others is present among us. So that's why the body and soul somehow we cannot meet each other, but they play together. That's why it's,
Okay, that's good. That's good. Although it would have been good, or it would have been better if before saying those things na family, the mystery of the family is compared to the mystery of the soul and the body, you have already defined what mystery is for Marcel, not
yes,
mystery in the general sense of the term. Because as I've mentioned, you have been discussing philosophical terms here without really grounding them. Okay, it will really confuse your readers, especially if they do not have any prior knowledge of Marcel. What do we mean by mystery? Are we talking about the mystery in the general sense of the term na unexplainable or whatnot? But mystery is not like that for Marcel, right? Hindi ganun ang mystery eh. There's something different by how Marcel defined mystery. So it's very, yun yung sinasabi ko, you have to be careful. It would have been better if you mentioned that mystery of family is the same as blah 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 in your chapter 4 after you have already presented what mystery is for Marcel. Do you get my point?
yes.
All right, sige. Question number 4. Is there a difference between fidelity and creative fidelity? This is my first question kanina sa'yo. What is the difference between fidelity and creative fidelity?
Fidelity in the way that we are faithful, living with faithful to each other, and for creative fidelity, for myself, creative must be present or relate to fidelity. That means in this creative fidelity, God is the first in the relationship. That to God we faithful to each other, and we see the lesson of love, of availability, and for myself, creativity, we have to make it uh, more among the relationship in interjectivity with hope. We put hope and presence in the fidelity. So in the fidelity, in normal way, that the belief or trust, or somehow maintain the relationship in the same way. But in this, we have to come up with so many concepts that we have to creative how to live in the fidelity life.
Sige. If that's how you will define fidelity and creative fidelity, no? Don't you think the point of your thesis is to be just faithful, for married couple to be just faithful, to just follow fidelity or to just practice fidelity? Kasi you have to understand creative fidelity, no? It's not just loyalty. You've mentioned it includes presence, it includes hope, blah, blah, blah. Um, but in your whole thesis, what I can get from it is that you're just calling for couples to be loyal. Creative fidelity, yeah, in terms of fidelity kasi you can acknowledge the presence of your wife or your husband. You're acknowledging the presence of the other. So why do we have to use creative fidelity? Okay?
Actu-
Yeah.
Actually, in creativity, instead of fidelity in the normal way that we focus on those who are living with us, but here in creativity, we also think about the absent people that we creative, that we use our memories to be faithful with the people that we have lived before. But in the fidelity, we just focus on the presence of others in the way we are living together.
I understand. I
Yes.
understand the point that you're trying to say. But as I've mentioned, in your thesis, in your manuscript, you have to make that appear. Kasi, as I've mentioned,
Yes.
presuppositions. There are so many presuppositions
Yes.
that your reader would not be interested to read anymore until chapter 4 or chapter 5. Because, ay, basic, I have to be loyal to my wife or to my husband. That's it. Okay?
Yes.
So you have to make sure that you keep your reader interested in reading and not giving away everything all at once.
Yes.
Okay? This one, I have to clarify this, no? In page 14, the couple's faithfulness must be innovative for it to be genuine. What do you mean by that? Innovative. What do you mean by innovative?
Which one? Which page?
It's in page 14. It's in page 14. In the yung first line after citation number 36. The couple's faithfulness must be innovative for it to be truly genuine.
Actually, faithfulness, somehow the couple living look like they are living together, but the people outside can look that they are very faithful to each other, but the truth that they are living in the different way, they just be live with others, but without faithful or without fidelity. So the genuine here is that it live in the outside and also inside that one. That's why we need to see that fidelity on the body and soul, the connection, not because of we live because of the looking of others, but actually we look in the vision with God also. So relate to God in the fidelity. That means genuine is the true fidelity.
So
God.
how was it innovative? Paano yung nagiging innovative or innovative? What do you mean by innovative muna? How do you define innovative in this um, in this sentence that you wrote? Because I think this is yours because there's no citation, no?
Yes.
I just want to be clarified because when I think of innovative or innovation, change, development. Okay? Couples faithfulness must be innovative. It should be developing. It should be changing. Was
Yes.
that how you want it to be
Ye-
perceived?
Because I explained that we have free to live with others, and I explained before that we have to be loyal in from heart, not only in external force of the lie that we have promised to others that we have faithful, but we have to live, we have to show from heart. So from genuineness, not because of the faithfulness only.
Okay, sige. We'll go back to that some other time. Ito, still in page 14. So, the family is a mystery, then no reason or answer can be raised or believed. Ito medyo, it really tips me off, no? You quoted Marcel's Homo Viator, but did he really say this one? Did he really say that the family is a mystery, then no reason or answer can be raised or believed?
Page.
That's page 14, lower part, last portion. It's quotation number 39, citation number 39. Did he say that? That you have to just believe? Did he really mean that we do not think about mystery? Did we not discuss this in existentialism? That mystery should be something inward, diba? Thought of inwardly. Hindi, it's just, this is why I'm saying kanina, that you're confusing mystery in the general sense of the term and mystery of Gabriel Marcel. Because the mystery that you are pertaining here, that it should not, there should be no reason or answer can be raised but just believe. That's the mystery that we all know, but that's not the mystery that Gabriel Marcel is asking, is telling us. Okay? So, yeah, that's something that you have to discuss with your advisor or work with your advisor later on. Ito, isa pa, nakakagulo din. Marcel's definition of presence is the presence that is present to oneself and others or one's presence. That's in page 15. Yeah. What do you mean by that? Kasi, does it make sense to you? Does it make sense to you that Marcel's definition of presence is the presence that is present to oneself and others or one's presence? It feels like a tongue twister. Paulit-ulit lang siya.
Actually, I want to put the alternative relationship among oneself and others, so also the others to back to the self, the oneself. So I just put here the present is the presence that is present to oneself and others, and also the others present. So the presence of oneself is so important in the relationship. I just
Point is, it is important. Presence is important in any relationship.
yes. So oneself should be should see the presence of others, and others should also feel the presence of the others on the self. So we can have the communicate among self and others.
Okay, sige. I understand that point. However, we don't need Gabriel Marcel to define presence for us to understand that we have to be present in any relationship that we enter. All right, going to chapter 3. I will have to make the discussion, the suggestions na lang, no? Can we rearrange your discussion in chapter 3? Go to the basic. Discuss muna mystery. Discuss presence before you go to creative fidelity. Kasi your discussion, letter B, concept of creative fidelity. Creative fidelity, fidelity and death, fidelity and love, fidelity and betrayal, biglang may I daw. Tas existence and human freedom. Why not start with existence and human freedom? Because that's the core of all existentialism. Before you go to this in-depth discussions. Kasi, as I've mentioned, the chapter 3 is the most disorganized one. Okay? And this is the, parang, it's at the heart of your thesis. And then it's disorganized. It's jumpy. It has no connection. The continuity or yung parang, the flow of the discussion is not there. Wala, sabog in Filipino term. Magulo siya. That's why then you discuss availability and unavailability. Okay, so you have to organize this to make sense, to make more sense.
Yes.
Okay? Your chapter flow chart, I'm not sure what's the point of this, of having this chapter flow chart in your thesis, but it doesn't give me any, I get any clarification. No, to be honest, it just confuses me more. In your chapter 4, it is highly theological. You are talking about love, marriage, sacrament of matrimony, that you're, it feels like you're forcing Gabriel Marcel. Although I know that Gabriel Marcel talked about marriage
Yes.
or married life, but your discussion feels forced. It feels forced.
Yes, because in the way I explain or connect to the idea of Gabriel myself, so I also use his idea on merit like Christian than philosophical. So
That's my suggestion to you is when you read Gabriel Marcel's work, think of him as a philosopher, not as a theologian.
yes,
Think of his work as philosophically grounded rather than I mean it is religious in some sense. There's some how do you call this, elements of religious philosophy in his work. But please do not force him to situations that you see fit. Okay? Let him speak for himself. Let his work stand out, or let his work um unfold. It unfolds so that it will be, your understanding of him will be complete, or not necessarily 100% be complete, but it will be kind of closer to what he really meant.
yes.
Okay, so uh, that's all I have to say, Mr. Nam. No, if you will be given a chance to rewrite this, I have to tell you, you have to rewrite it properly. Organize your thoughts, organize your discussions. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Paula, for that very enriching intervention. I think that really gives you a lot of things to uh, talk about and to really discuss. No? Um, first, my first observation here is that I also noticed that the problem is not very clear. Okay, in first, I just noticed first in chapter 2, we're talking about it. The title is Christian Marriage Life. Actually, it should be Christian marriage. No, there's no life. If it is, there is life. Should be married life.
Yes, brother.
Okay, it's not marriage life. It's married life. But in first of all, uh, in Christianity, marriage is understood in different ways.
Yes,
So I don't know what you want to discuss here, but if you talk about Christian married life or Christian marriage, it will be a very theological discussion. Okay? But I was surprised that in page 13, yes, the title is Christian Married Life, but there is nothing here about Christian marriage. You're actually discussing Gabriel Marcel's thoughts on family. And this is not Christian marriage. This is Gabriel Marcel.
actually, Marcel talked about family and he talked about the life in the Christian marriage also.
Yeah, no, that's why. But this is not Christian. But first of all, the Catholic understanding of marriage is sacrament,
Yes,
which is different from the Protestant understanding of marriage, which is not a sacrament. Okay, so I suggest that you have to revise chapter 2.
yes, brother.
Okay, all of this about Marcel should be integrated in chapter 3, wherein you are discussing Marcel's notion of creative fidelity, and see how his thoughts on family will be integrated. No, I don't know. You also discuss about conjugal love, but I think in chapter 2, but it's not. You quote here page 16. Let's see. Yeah, you got this now in thoughts on conjugal love. Okay, the source is very questionable. No? So that's why you need to revise this.
Yes.
Maybe one of the ideas that come to my mind is, instead of talking about Christian marriage, because when you talk of a Christian marriage, it will become very theological. And chapter 2 is about problem. Okay? Why not just here in this chapter discuss about fidelity in marriage, the problems in fidelity in marriage, and you can discuss. Okay,
Yes, sir.
what is fidelity in marriage and the problems, the implications. And from there, you have to, when you go to chapter 3, you extensively discuss creative fidelity. I'm not really sure of this language of sensation as my impression that I also got from Miss Paula, because I'm not sure if these are really coming from Marcel or you just invented it. No? There are words like sensation, incarnation, love, but language of love, is it really Marcel? So I want you to check that. No? And
Yes,
in
sir.
chapter 3, just discuss what Gabriel Marcel really talk about, especially about creative fidelity. And from there, it will, that your chapter 2 and chapter 3 will have a strong weight on how you will elaborate uh, chapter 4, which is your philosophical um, reflection. Okay? Now, that's why there is a need to revise your title. No? Like, for example, here, Gabriel Marcel's notion on creative fidelity towards Christian married life. You know the word towards. It's something that is not yet complete. No, something. Are you saying that what? I don't really. I don't understand this.
Somehow
Okay?
senden then it's not reply.
What's that?
Senden.
Yes, but towards does not mean strengthen.
Yes.
Okay? So I don't know what you mean. Okay? But when you say, because since you are talking about Christian marriage, okay, we are Catholic. So of course our perspective is Catholics. When you say strengthen, are you saying that there is a problem with the Catholic understanding of marriage, that you need Gabriel to strengthen it? What is the problem of the, for example, because actually you're talking in chapter 4, you're talking about the sacrament of marriage, and practically that is Catholic. Okay? So, what is the problem with the sacrament of marriage? Okay?
Yes.
So, because I read here the purpose is to strengthen. So why there is it weak? Is
So-
is the Catholic understanding of marriage weak? That's why you need Gabriel Marcel's notion to strengthen it. Is it problematic? That's why I suggest don't talk about the sacraments because that's very theological.
Yes.
Talk about the problems of uh, the problems surrounding fidelity in marriage, in a married life.
Yes.
I think you can identify several problems there. And then your solution in order to address that problem is Marcel. But you need to have a very clear understanding of the creative fidelity of Marcel so that you can use his philosophical thoughts in order to address the problems around fidelity.
Yes.
So there are major things that you have to address here. Okay?
Yes.
Anything else?
Meron pa ho, Father, one last. Can you go to your conclusion? Your first part of the conclusion. Yeah. The vocation of matrimony is so special from other vocations because it is required for the agreement between man and woman. Isn't it that vocations are equally special? Single blessedness, matrimony, religious life, they are special in their own. So this is exactly a problem also. You're easily generalizing stuff and your your use of words, no? You have to be very careful with that. Okay, semantics play a very important part in your studies. Okay? Kasi if I will read that and for example, religious ako, I will feel as if it is so special pala from other vocation. Ba't pa ako nag-religious? Nag-asawa na lang ako. Ganun. So you have to be very careful in saying those things. Okay? Rephrase. Be careful in writing your thesis. Thank you.
Sir Blaise would like to say something.
Yes, with regards to the statement of the problem, I really asked them to uh, emphasize on the main problem, which should be answered in the fourth chapter, and then the sub problems, two sub problems. It's my command to them, my instruction to them. So just for clarification, when it comes to the content, I also repeatedly told him that the sacrament of marriage is highly theological and that the contents of the work is, of course, highly theological. And I think in order to trim down these questions, it all boils down to one single revision that will answer everything, and that is to make it more philosophical, and the choice of terms and words should also be philosophical because for the basic reason and an obvious reason that this is a philosophical work. You are asking for a degree on philosophy, not a degree on theology. Okay? Maybe you can go back to this one if you will be defending your work in theology. Okay? And whenever you say Christian marriage life, just like what I've told you in our email, in our conversation, it refers to many Christian religions. Okay? To religions who are claiming to be Christians. It can be the Seventh-day Adventists, it can be the Mormons, for instance. So there's plurality in your claim. That's why we need to unify those pluralities. Okay? You need to have a universal grounding in order to really satisfy the questions asked and the clarifications asked by our two very respectful panels. Okay? So I think that's it. And we can actually work on this one. Basta you just don't rush things because what I am noticing is that you rush things you even submitted earlier than what I thought to Mampola. So I was just quite surprised. Don't rush things. It will take time, and in order for you to do it correctly,
Yes. Sir.
Okay?
Thank you.
Momentum is very important.
Yes.
Okay, so I think you need to read more. Okay,
Yes,
read
sir.
more about fidelity. Okay, articles about Marcel, which are connected to fidelity in marriage.
Yes.
That your thesis will be enriched. Okay, so that your reflection on in chapter 4 will be much deeper.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So thank you very much, Nam, for presenting your thesis. We'd like to invite everyone to leave for a while.
Thank you.
Okay, Nam. So
Yes, sir.
um, your thesis needs major revisions. So you really have to work on this, and you have to submit it on the time that is required of you to submit.
Yes.
And it will still depend, no, if you're on the revisions that you will do.
Yes.
Uh, uh, i- the panel members will have to see if all of those comments that we told you are really integrated
Yes,
in
sir.
in the in the revisions that you made. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you
So
for the. So after this, I would like to invite on go to the faculty room to have the snack. I have prepared the snack.
okay. Thank you very much.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Let's have our picture taking for the documentation. Thank you.